Okay, y'all, this is a pretty bulky day, so hang with me as we get through this. I don't want to rush through any of these examples, and we won't do them all, but I'm going to try to get through it as quick as I can, but be thorough with it. So we're going to be talking about surface area and volume a lot this unit. Today we're going to be focusing on prisms and cylinders. And so something you need to know about prisms and cylinders are that they have two congruent parallel bases. So if you look down at these pictures, the top left picture, that is a triangular prism, and you can see that it has these two congruent parallel bases. This is called an oblique prism over here, but again it has those two parallel bases. These cylinders, this is your right cylinder, that's what we're going to be dealing with most of the time, has two parallel bases, and even this oblique cylinder over here also is going to have those two congruent parallel bases. Okay, a lateral face, it's not a base, so it's basically everything except the bases. The edges of the bases are edges, okay, so base edges. A lateral face is not a base, so keep that in mind. If we're looking at these pictures here, let's say this triangular prism, the lateral faces are going to be everything, so these three rectangles that are in between the two bases. A lateral edge is not an edge of a base, okay, your lateral edges, you can see here, your lateral edges are these edges on your lateral faces. It makes sense. The lateral faces of a right prism, let me just clear all this out. The lateral faces of a right prism are all rectangles. So if you look again at this triangular prism, this is considered to be a right prism because these rectangles that are making up the faces, well, they're all rectangles. An oblique prism has at least one non-rectangular lateral face. We really won't deal with oblique prisms much. You just need to know the term. Okay, so here's your formulas you're going to need. You will for sure want to have a formula chart in front of you for this entire unit because you don't want to just, I mean, it would be nice to memorize all these, but you're going to be better off if you can just look down at the formula. So the first is the lateral area of a prism, and so when we look at this formula here, normally you see LA equals PH, but think about what we're getting here. We're getting the area of everything except the two bases, and so it's going to be P, which is perimeter, okay, and that is the perimeter of your base. So here in this case, this is a triangular prism, so whatever the perimeter of that base is, that would be that number, and then the height is going to be the height of your prism. So the perimeter of the base times the height, that'll get you your lateral area. You can see here in this picture you have this net, and you know that this is a triangular prism because you have these two triangles that are your bases, and then it's made up of these three rectangles. Once we get to surface area of a prism, all you are doing is you're taking what you got for your lateral area, and the only thing that's missing are the two bases. And so what you'll see is that surface area is PH, which is the lateral area we would find, plus 2B, and that capital B is the area of the base. So you take what you got for your lateral area, and you add in two of your bases. And then we get to volume of a prism, and again we see that capital B, which is again going to be the area of the base, and then H is the height. Okay, so a lot of these things will repeat themselves throughout these formulas. Okay, and so here we'll go ahead and cover the formulas for area, surface area and volume of a cylinder. So lateral area of a cylinder, you can see here's your formulas right here. Lateral area is going to be 2 pi r, r is your radius, h is your height. So whatever the radius is times your height, times pi times 2. And then your surface area will be whatever you got for your lateral area, which we just did 2 pi RH, plus you'll add in your two bases. Well, if you think about it, your two bases are circles, okay, and how do you get an area of a circle? It's pi r squared. So I'm going to do pi 2 pi r squared, and that'll get both of those bases. The lateral area of a right cylinder is the area of the curved surface. And so when we're talking about lateral area, we're basically getting that basically a rectangle that's being wrapped around. Not that important. The volume of a cylinder, that's going to be on the formula chart. Let me just double check that this is what it says. On a formula chart for volume of a cylinder, it could say base times height, but the base here is pi r squared because it's a circle, but it does actually say pi r squared h. So that's pretty easy. All right, so here we go. We are doing a lot of examples, so hang with me as we get through these. So this says determine the lateral area, surface area, and volume for each one of these. All right, so on number 1, if you were to name this, we would name this as a triangular prism. Okay, you can see your two bases are triangles. And so this is going to take some space, so good luck. So we've got lateral area, that's P times H. Okay, so I need to get the perimeter of this base. Okay, well, to be able to get the perimeter, I need to know all three sides, and I do not right now. So this, I know it's hard to read, this number on the top, but that's a 6. And then 8. You can see this is our right triangle up here, and this is a 3, 4, 5 triangle, which means this missing side is going to be 10. So you can do Pythagorean theorem if you want, or it saves time if you know that triple. So the perimeter of the base would be 6 plus 8 plus 10, which would be 24, times the height. That's the height that is connecting your two bases. Okay, that's how you know where your height is. It is connecting your two bases. And so here our height is 9. And when you multiply that, you get 216. Since I'm kind of already limited on space here, I'm not going to put my units here, but this would be, since it is area, this would be meters squared. Okay, so now we move on to the surface area. Okay, well, I already know the surface area is going to start with 216. Okay, I just need to add in the two bases. So I always kind of just do this and leave a space for me to get my base. So if I look at the base here, the base is a right triangle. So for my area of my base, I can do base times height over 2. So I can do 6 times 8 over 2, which would be 24. Just go down and plug that into that space. And when you work all of that out, you get 264. Again, that's area, so that would be meters squared. Okay, and then we come down to volume. And volume is going to be area of the base times height. Well, we already got the area of the base right here when we got the 24. So that's base, that's the area of the base, times the height. Again, height, anytime you see the H here, that's the number that's connecting your two bases. So 24 times 9 is 216. Keep in mind that would be meters cubed. Okay, I'm going to erase that. If you missed it, rewind. All right, number 2. So here we have a rectangular prism. And so to start out, I'm going to get the lateral area. So lateral area, I don't know why it's not letting me write right now. Hold on. Okay, lateral area equals the perimeter of the base. So here is my base. And it does say the bottom face is the base, because here in a rectangular prism, technically we could say the two side rectangles are bases, and so it's just getting specific. Now, if it asks you just to find surface area and volume, those would be the same no matter what bases you use, But for a lateral area, it would be different. So that's why it's just getting specific about which one is the base. So I'm going to get the perimeter of the base. So if you do 6.8 times 2 and 3.6 times 2, you get 20.8 times the height. And remember the height, again, that's what's connecting your two bases. So that's 2.1. And when you multiply those, you get 43.68. And that would be centimeters squared. Okay, then we move on to our surface area. Okay, we've already gotten part of it because we just got 43.68. And now we need to add in the two bases. Okay, and so I need to just get the area of our base, which is just a rectangle. So that's just base times height. And 6.8 times 3.6 is 24.48. I know some of y'all have emailed me about like, how do you get these numbers? I've already worked this out on my notes, and I'm basically copying it down. So if I write a number down wrong, it's probably just because I cannot read my handwriting. But these answers should be right at least. So 92.64. Okay, and then the volume is going to be the area of the base. Okay, we already got that. That was 24.48. And I need to multiply it times the height. Again, the height is whatever's connecting your two bases. So that's times 2.1. And when you multiply those, you get 51.408. Okay, number 3. Here we have a cylinder. And so cylinder is pretty straightforward. Okay, so lateral area of a cylinder is going to be 2 pi r times h. Okay, so I come up here and I can see the radius is 5, and I see that the height, again, that's what's connecting your two bases, is 3.8. And so when I multiply all that out, I get 38 pi. All right, then we do the surface area. Okay, and again, surface area is going to take your lateral area, which we just got to be 38 pi, and you are going to add in your two bases. So 2 pi r squared, 5 squared is 25. So I'm just going to do 2 pi times 25, and that would be 50 pi plus 38 pi, which would be 88 pi. All right, and then the volume. Volume of a cylinder says pi r squared, so that would be pi 25 times the height, which is 3.8, and when you do that, you get 95 pi. So these three were all pretty straightforward, nothing too complicated about those. And they do get a little more difficult. Of course they do, right? Okay, I am going to skip the ones that I think are straightforward, and I will give you the answers to those. So number 4, I am going to skip, but I will give you the answers. So it's 52.92 pi, 111.24 pi, and 142.88 pi. Okay, I don't need to work those are easy. I will go ahead, I am going to work number 5. So number 5, the lateral area, so first you have to decide what it is. So this is a triangular prism. Okay, and so I'm going to start out for my lateral area. I need to do the perimeter of the base times the height. Okay, so I'm going to look up here, up this triangle, because to get the perimeter, I need to know all the sides. Well, notice this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle. Where the 18 is, that is my 2x side, which means x would be 9. So my short leg over here would be 9, and then my long leg here would be 9 root 3, because that's your x root 3 side. Okay, so now I can add those. So if I do 9 plus 18, that's 27 plus 9 root 3. That's the perimeter times the height. Again, the height is whatever's connecting your two bases here. That would be 8. Okay, and what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to distribute this 8. And so 8 times 27 is 216, plus 8 times 9 is 72, and then square root of 3. That, as yucky as it looks, is your lateral area. Okay, then we do our surface area, okay, which is going to be what we just got, 216 plus 72 root 3, plus we need to get the area of the bases. Okay, and so the area of our base here would be base times height, which would be 9 times 9 root 3 over 2. And this just gets yuckier and yuckier. But this would be, I'm going to put it as a decimal because it's just easier to plug in. So it would be 40.5 square root of 3 when you do that. And so now when I simplify this, the only thing I can really do is I can multiply this 2 times 40.5. Okay, which is 81, square root of 3. And then I can add that to the 72, and you get 153 root 3. So you have 216 plus 153 root 3. Okay, so now for the volume. So I'll come over here and work the volume. So volume is going to be the area of the base. We got that here. Okay, that is the area of the base. So that's 40.5 square root of 3 times the height, which is 8. And so if you do 8 times 40.5, you get 324 square root 3. Okay. Number 6, I'm going to clear this so I have more room. So, sorry if you still needed that. Moving on. Number 6, and so here we do have a triangular prism, but you do have to be careful that you look at what kind of triangles you have here. So if you look at these triangles that are your bases, be careful about seeing that right angle right there. That right angle is your lateral edges meeting. And so, it's a base edge that is meeting a lateral edge. That is your right angle. It's that rectangle on the side. That is not saying that is a right triangle. Okay, and so here I'm going to do I'm going to do the lateral area. So the perimeter of that would be 64 times the height. Again, the height is the height of the prism, what's connecting your two bases, so that's times 32. And when you do that, you get 2,048. Pretty straightforward. Okay, and then you get the surface area, which is going to be what we just got. Plus, we need to do 2 times the area of the base. So I'm going to come up here, and there's a couple of things you could do because this is not a right triangle. You could do Heron's formula here, or you can draw in an altitude, and you can find the height, and then just do base times height over 2. It's up to you. So I'm just going to draw in a height right here, which means that piece would be 12. If you do Pythagorean theorem here, you will get this side to be 16. So now if I do base, which is 24, times height over 2, you get, 24 times 16 over 2, you get 192. So if I do that times 2 and I add 2,048, you get 2432. And then the volume would be the area of the base, which is 192, times the height of the entire thing, which would be 32, which is 6144. Okay, on the rest of these, I think what I'm going to do is we're just going to label the parts and just get everything that we need, because after that you would be able to plug it in. And so, like on number 7, let's do this. Let's get the perimeter, we'll get the height, and we'll get the area of the base, because those are everything that we would need to plug in. So the perimeter here, it's showing you that every side is 4, and this is a hexagon. So the perimeter here would be 24. The height is whatever is connecting your two bases, and if your bases are the hexagons, then your height would be 3. The hard part to this, obviously, is we have that hexagon that we would have to get the area of. So I'm just going to draw this hexagon here so I can show you a little bit better. This goes back to the area unit where you have to know how to get the area of a hexagon. And so that's apothem times perimeter over 2. The only thing that we have here is that the edge of your hexagon is 4. Okay, so if the entire side is 4, that means this little piece is 2. Okay, thinking back to last unit, this is a 30, 60, 90 triangle here, and where the 2 is, that is your, that's your short leg, which means our long leg, where our apothem is, would be 2 square root of 3. So I could come back up here to the area formula and say that A is 2 root 3 times the perimeter, which is 24 over 2. Those 2's cancel, so your area of your base would be 24 square root of 3. And now that would be really easy to go back and plug in for all the different things. All right, number 8. Here we have a trapezoidal prism. Notice what we have 2 of that are exactly the same are these trapezoids that are parallel to each other. And so this is a trapezoidal prism. And so, again, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to get the perimeter of the trapezoid, the height of the prism, and then we'll get the area of the base. So those are the things we would need to plug in. So the perimeter of our base, it says, let's focus in on one. We've got 8. This is 5. It says those are equal, so that's 5. And so you have 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 3, which is 21. Okay, the height, again, remember, this is the height that is connecting your two bases. Okay, there's a lot of numbers on here that you could get confused by. Locate where your two bases are and what is connecting those, and that would be 4. Okay, and then the area of the base here, so area of a trapezoid is height. Now be careful here, this is the height of your trapezoid. Okay, and so the height of my trapezoid is this 4.3 times, I need to add the bases together, and they were 3 and 8, so that's 11, and then over 2. And so if I do that, you get 23.65 as the area of your base. Okay, then you just plug all that into the formula, and then you're good. Okay, number 9. Here we have another triangular prism, and these are my two bases here. Whoops, I was going to erase that. There we go. Okay, so again, I'm just going to do the same thing. So perimeter, height, base. So the perimeter of our triangle it's showing you here that this is 9, which means this is 9 up here. So we have 7, 8, and 9. And if you add all those up, that's 24. Height, this is the height of your prism. That would be 10. And then the area of the base, because 7 and 8 are two different numbers, you would, actually, never mind, they show you the height right here. I was thinking we had to do Heron's formula, but we don't have to. Okay, so I can just do base times height over 2, which would be 9 times 6 over 2, which is 27. And there we go. Plug all those in. Okay, here we have, we're just going to do these 3 and we are done. So here we have a pentagonal prism because there's 5 sides. So same thing here. Perimeter, height, area of the base. So the perimeter, it's showing us, it does not give us a side of the pentagon. All it gives us is an apothem, and then it gives us the height of the prism. And so I do know the height of the prism is 8, but to be able to get the perimeter, I've got to do a little bit more work, or a lot more work. Okay, so I am going to actually just draw another, this is really bad drawing, sorry. And I'm going to draw in that apothem that they're giving me. Okay, and they're saying that that is 5.5. Okay, well, unfortunately, this is no special triangle inside. And so, thinking back to the area unit, what I like to do is do 360 divided by 5, because that is going to get me what each exterior angle is, which would be 72. If I just subtract that from 180, then that'll get me all 5 of the interior angles, which is 108. And then if I cut that in half because I've drawn this little triangle in, then this angle right here is 54. Which means we are going to have to do trig to figure out anything. And so let's say we want to find this piece down here so that we can get the perimeter. I'm going to do, that's opposite and adjacent, so that's tan of 54 equals opposite, so 5.5 over x. This is one of those, since x is in the denominator, I'm just going to flip-flop these two things. And so I'm going to do 5.5 divided by tan of 54. And you get about 3.996-ish. Okay, so that's that piece. And you're going to have to hang with me here. I would need to multiply that by 2 to get that entire side. And then multiply it by 5 to get the perimeter. So if I multiply that by 2, then multiply that by 5, the perimeter here is about 39.959. Of course, it should be 960 if I actually rounded that correctly. So let me just throw another number on the end. Okay, that would be the perimeter. And then now we would have everything we needed to get the area. And we would have to do apothem times perimeter over 2. But we have the apothem because it's 5.5. You should have that perimeter still in your calculator. So you plug that perimeter in and then divide it by 2. And that'll get you the area of the base. So those types of problems is all about keeping all those numbers in the calculator. Don't round until the very, very end if you can. Just wait. All right, this next one, okay, this is a very straightforward problem, so I'm not going to work it. The main thing is here realizing that this is the diameter, which is 22 feet, and so you would need to know that the radius is 11, but then it's straightforward from there. Okay, last thing, and then we are done. We have this composite figure here. What I am going to do on this one, let's not worry about the lateral area, and let's talk through the surface area. And so the surface area here, we've got these two different figures, okay? And I am going to work this on the next slide. And I'll just kind of keep flipping back and forth to make sure you know what numbers I am using here. but I want kind of a fresh slide for this. And so what we're going to do first is let's get this surface area of this triangular prism. Okay, so if we look at this triangular prism here, I need to get the perimeter of that triangle. Okay, and so what we need to know is what these two sides are. Okay, well, I can see if both of my legs are 4, that means that this is a 45, 45, 90 because it's isosceles. So I already know that this piece is going to be 4 root 2. So the perimeter would be 4 root 2 plus 4 root 2 plus 8. So that would be 8 root 2 plus 8. Okay, so I'm going to have, now this is for the surface area of the prism. Okay, so that would be 8 root 2 plus 8. And then I'm going to multiply that by the height. Now remember, this is the height of your prism, and you can see here that that would be 6. Okay, I just need to distribute that 6. And so that would be 48 root 2 plus 48. Okay, so that's the surface area of the prism. Now I'm going to get the surface area. One thing to point out, real quick about the surface area of the prism. There is a part of that prism that's not on the surface. It's not being exposed, which means we are going to have to take it out. So if you think about the part of the prism that's not being exposed, that's this rectangle that it's sitting on. And the area of that rectangle would be 8 times 6, which would be 48. So I actually need to take 48 away from my area. Okay. And so now I am going to get, sorry, that was just the first part. I need to add in 2b. I never did that. So I'm going to do plus, so I basically have 48 root 2 plus 2 times the area of our base. So let's go back to our base here. What's nice is they give you the base and the height of this triangle. And so base would be 8 times 4 is 32, divided by 2 would be 16. So we have 48 root 2 plus 32. Okay, that's our final. That's everything that's showing on the surface of the prism. Now I'll go down to the surface area of the cylinder. Notice this is just a half cylinder. Okay, and so surface area of a cylinder is going to be 2 pi r. R here is going to be 4 because the diameter is 8. Times the height, that's the height of the prism, is 6. Plus 2 pi times the radius squared, because that's your 2 circles. And when we get all of this, we're going to cut it in half because we only have half of the cylinder. So if I multiply this, I have 2 times 4 is 8, times 6 is 48. So that's 48 pi plus 4 squared is 16, times 2 is 32. So that's 32 pi. And if you add those up, you get 80 pi over 2, which would be 40 pi. And so I am just going to add that on to our other surface area. And your final surface area for this composite would be 48 root 2 plus 32 plus 40 pi. Of course, you can put those in any order. Volume, I'm not going to work through the volume. It's really straightforward since we've already figured out everything else. There's no tricks. I mean, volume's just everything on the inside, so there's nothing too tricky there. We are not going to do this last slide, so do not worry about that.